the time trying to. Well, hello, and welcome to ZBrush Live, everybody. November 24th. Wow, almost done with this year. And let's see, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. We'll do this same test that we do every time. So if you can hear me okay, then please let me know in the chat on YouTube and Twitch. And once we've established that, we can get going. While that is happening, again, like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all the internet stuff. And also, if you have any questions, you can ask during the stream, or if you are watching this after the fact, you can leave your question in the comments, and hopefully somebody will get back to you at some point and answer them for you. Okay? So with that, I'm still waiting for somebody to chime in and let me know that you can hear me okay on the chat. Looks like we're on there, so I'll give it a few minutes here. All right, let me take a look here. There are quite a few of you watching, so hopefully somebody will get back to me. I think there's a little bit of a delay, but otherwise I think we should be good. So if anybody watching could let me know that you can hear me, that would be awesome. We're back to working with this guy, and this is about where we left him last time. I didn't really have any opportunities to work on him, so he's exactly the same way we left him last time. Still using my pen display. Okay, somebody says it's all okay. Great. Thank you. So this is on YouTube. I guess we'll wait for somebody from Twitch to chime in. All right, in the meantime, I have a few things I want to do. So since I'm using this pen display, I'm really missing my radial menu. So I'm thinking of actually changing my UI a bit today, and this might be a good time to do a little bit of a thing on how to change the UI. So I'm going to see here if there is a way I could put it on this menu. Maybe right underneath here would be a good place to put the icons that I most commonly use. And then wherever I am, if I hit Control A, that menu will pop up. And I need to be somewhere in the middle. So this is kind of a, I guess a good area. And I have all these icons, and I probably want to add the new anchor brush that they added in ZBrush 2024. Okay, so I have somebody, Quira123, saying, is ZBrush useful for games? And of course, there's so many games that are made with ZBrush. I mean, game assets, not the games themselves. I should clarify that. But yeah, as a matter of fact, if you watch the latest, let me bring it up here. So if you go to the Pixelogic YouTube channel, which it's still called Pixelogic, even though they are Maxon now. But if you go to their channel right here, let me bring that up. And you go to videos, you can see that from the ZBrush Summit here, Capcom, Street Fighter, they use ZBrush. And let's see what else. Horizon Forbidden West, I guess, that they use that. Square Enix uses it for Final Fantasy. Well, let's see. There's so many. Yeah, so the answer is yes, it is used for games. And it is also used for film. It's used for jewelry. It's used for a lot of industries. Want to be technical artist knowing art and programming? Well, that's a tall order, but not impossible. Good luck to you. And then let's see. So I guess Quira, you can hear me okay. That's why you're kind of posting this stuff. If you can hear me okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so again, I'm trying to figure out how to do this thing where I can put my most commonly used items back on this menu because I took them out, and then maybe create the custom menu. All right, so the first thing you need to do, and this is kind of a sidetrack, but an important one. If you haven't customized your ZBrush UI, it's highly recommended. People always ask me for my UI, and I tell them to make their own because mine is very specific to me, and I change it all the time. So it's pointless for you to have it. So here we go. The first thing you're going to do is go into your preferences and enable customize. So that tells ZBrush you're now customizing. And here I've got this menu of mine that I've popped over here. And what I'm going to do is add my brushes to it. So the first brush I want to add is ZModeler. Now I can add this big button, but I don't want that. I want the smaller one. So I'm going to go down here and find the smaller ZModeler icon, which is somewhere here. Where are you? Right here, right? And what I'm going to do is hold Control and Alt down and drag that over here, and I'm going to put it right under here. I guess I can put it here too, it doesn't matter. I was kind of thinking of putting it under there, but this will work. Okay, so and then my 2 brush is the Move brush. And again, I'll just find it over here. It should be pretty prominent. This is cloth move. I just want normal move. Here it is. Okay, again, Control and Alt and drag and drop it over here. So that's my 2. And then my 3 brush is Damien Standard, which is, where are you, Damien Standard? Should be here, clearly visible. And if you guys have any questions about custom menus, this would be a great time to ask it, because that's what we're doing. Where it is. I can't seem to find it down here. Where are you? It's got to be down here somewhere. Whenever you choose a menu. Okay, let me just go to 4 and see if it places it at the end over here. Nope. So it was here somewhere. We just did it. Right, I've got too many brushes showing up here, and that's not even all my brushes. Here we go, Damien Standard. Okay, so click and drag and drop. So there's my 3rd brush. My 4th brush is H Polish. Where is H Polish on here? There it is. Drag and drop that. So now I've put 4 brushes in here. Now my 5th brush, and that is a masking brush. So just normal masking. I'm going to click on OK. And that is going to be, let's see, mask pen is the one I'm looking for. And here it is. I'm just going to Control Alt, drag and drop it, put it over here. So there is number 5. Number 6 is the select, okay, rectangle. So drag and drop that over to here. And then 7 is the transpose, just the normal transpose, which is now changed a little bit with version 2024, and I am using version 2024 here. And let's see, I think my last one's going to be inflate, which is right here. Inflate down here is, where are you? There it is. So we'll just add that. Okay, so I've got all the brushes. And I don't know if I want transpose here or if I want, I think I do. Okay, so this looks good. So these are the 8 brushes that I use all the time. And I had the radial menu, which you've seen in my previous videos. That's a Wacom thing. And Sense Labs doesn't have theirs yet. So this is kind of a stopgap measure until they do have it. All right, so now that I have that the way I want it, there's also one other thing that I want to do here. So I'm just going to pop this out. And then there was one other menu here, my dynamic menu, that had kind of a bit of a change. So here, these brushes were kind of hidden. So I'm just going to open all of these up again, because I want this to be saved this way. All right, so again, I'm just going to hide that. Let's just make sure that that's there. Okay, yep, it's the way I want it. And I've got my brushes on the left, and I've got my tool menu on the right. So everything is good. And I'll go to preferences and say store config. And this will basically be this configuration I will be using from this point forward. Now, another thing I also want to do is I want to save a copy of that, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Save UI. And then that's going to go here in my folder of UIs, which I've got a ton of UIs on here. And where are you? ZBrush and configs. Right, so this will be my first UI for 2024. Okay, so 2024 already has one UI. And that's it. So now I've got that. Okay, so from this point forward, if I hit Control A, all of my most commonly used brushes come up over here for now until I have the radial menu, and I'm good to go. Oh, okay, so Nathan is saying he doesn't know how to use transpose. Yeah, I mean, I think you can do most of everything in with the gizmo. There are still a few things that transpose allows you to do, so it's good to pick it up at some point. But again, for just vital day-to-day use, I think you're good. Okay, so what should we work on next? I think we did a little bit of organic sculpting on the face last time. Let's take a look at that, see what we got. I think the bottom teeth here are looking a little bit bad, right? So I want my Damon standard brush. There it is. So again, it's kind of a, you know, I guess it's a similar type of thing. You know, you have to make do with what you got. So, but they've assured me that they are going to have the radial menu at some point. It is in their to-do list. All right, so let's put some bottom teeth on here. Let's see what that looks like. It's a little goofy. Let's go to the move brush. So again, sometimes you'll just see me hit keystrokes because I've kind of done that a little bit as well. But I'll probably get used to using that menu that I just made as we go along today. All right, I think that's kind of okay for bottom teeth. I'd want them to be asymmetrical, and they kind of are. All right. All right, so what's new? I guess happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I should say that. If you don't celebrate that where you are, it's a fun holiday we have here in the US. And I don't know where this thing is. This wire, I think I made a version of it that's embedded, so I don't know why I've got the second one. Let's see where that is. Okay, so I've got another one of these for some reason. I'm going to go ahead and hide it. Yeah, because I've got one that's going inside, so I don't really need that one. I might even just delete it. I don't even know why it's there. Maybe I had it as an initial builder. I think that's what I'll do. I'll just copy it and paste it into my builder folder. Here we go. Okay, so now I don't need it anymore over here. I'll get rid of it. Okay. All right, so, and then what else? Today's Black Friday. Hopefully you guys celebrate that. I don't know if it's a celebration. More of kind of a crazy time. All right, so here I'm needing my H polish brush. Do that. And then go to standard again. Thinking of what the best thing to do here is for this middle area. See if the references give me some info. I guess one of the things that they've done here. And let's see, is this just the big helmet? It is. All right, I think I could give this thing one more subdivision level. How many does it have? Oh, it doesn't have any. It's still Dynamesh. All right. Here, I'm just kind of separating it into these little parts. I almost did the stream with another model that I'm working on that I kind of started last night. Just wanted to start something new, but I'm going to continue with this one. Maybe at some point I'll do a mini kind of offshoot and show you guys that one, but for now, let's stick to this guy. And I'm kind of not getting enough resolution here, so let me see. Right, so this is the helmet. Let me see what happens if I re-Dynamesh it. That give me a little bit more resolution over there? Probably not. All right, I can always give it a subdivision level and delete the lower. So now I've got a little bit more resolution. I'm still in Dynamesh mode. All right. H polish. this up. All right. All right, we got a quiet bunch today. It's quite a bit of chatter last time, but it's probably people are on holiday today, and so I almost also considered not doing it today, the stream, but I was going to be working in ZBrush anyway, so I thought might as well do it tonight as well. But hopefully it'll be a nice quiet one. I'm going to change my glasses here to ones that work even better close up. There we go. All right, so maybe find a way to extend this out. To maybe house these wires. All right. Well, you shouldn't type anything unless you have something to mention, Nathan, or none. None. Right, H polish. Yeah, I kind of doubt anybody from the US is watching today. Most everybody's traveled, it's with family, in a food coma, or shopping, or doing holiday stuff. Maybe even traveling. Right, that's looking a little bit more official. Doing a little bit of industrial design over here. It's kind of too hot for this scarf. Let's see, kind of new to ZBrush. Well, you know, self-learning is a good way of learning it. There's plenty of information. Abram is asking what I'm making, and this is stream number 6 of, well, 6. And this is kind of a character I started, and the story behind it is he's some sort of a kind of a cybernetic person who's kind of downloaded himself into this body, this machine, and this is his actual skull in here. But he's got some, machine here that basically has his personality, and he can use the body, just kind of a character for a game or a movie that basically has that characteristic. So it's basically a human being that's been dead for a long time, but has placed his consciousness in this kind of body. So, and if that doesn't work for you, then you can always say it's a space pirate. That always works. But it's just basically a character and using some hard surface kind of elements here. And what's fun about this is after making it, I want to maybe pose it and create like some sort of a nice render, and just maybe, propose it as some sort of a character concept design. Yeah, like an avatar, exactly. Like some sort of a, not as sophisticated as the avatars, but still kind of some sort of a post-life type of creature. Okay, and I want to remind everybody that he does have a mask that goes on top of this. And I was contemplating whether or not I want to put some eyes in here, and I do have some, but I'm leaning against it. I kind of like just the sockets. I might, of course, liven them up a bit later, but for now I'm kind of liking the way they are. So yeah, oh, I'm sure I'll put some cameras and stuff. Abram, don't worry. Glowy eyes would be cyberpunk. Well, that's an option. We can try and do that. I don't think this guy eats anymore, though. So I think he basically runs off of power. So we should figure out what that power cell is. I'm kind of assuming, something will connect up to this. I kind of started that, but didn't continue it. Maybe I will today. All right, so I'm kind of obsessing over some things here, but maybe let's do that. Let's do the rest of his backpack over here. All right, so let's kind of start simple with some sort of a primitive or something like that. So I'm going to just choose this strap here. I think that's just a single level, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my insert brush. Again, these are brushes that you can get. I have them available for you. I've got a free version and a commercial version, and they're both available on my Gumroad, and I'll show you guys where the link is in it. But let me place this over on his back. Something like this. I'm just kind of figuring out some sort of a volume for it. And let's see. His power source are memories. Well, I guess somehow if that works, sure. Of course, yeah, I am going to take the high. I'm going to do the high details, of course. All right, so let me just really quickly go over and talk about this real quick. Because I did mention it, I might as well show it. So if you guys want to know about my work, you can see my work here on my Instagram. So it's just Kermaco. And you can see this is kind of a recent work that I did using ZBrush 2024. And I used the new noise capability, the Maxon noise, to make this background and to also create this kind of interesting looking mask. But in my Instagram, you guys can click on the link tree over here, which will give you a link to all of my stuff, and Gumroad is over here as well. So this is the brush I was talking about. So there's one that is $5, and it includes all the basic stuff. So this one's free. You can get this one for free, as well as my UI colors. That's free as well. But this one right here, you can get all these primitives plus a few more shapes that are pretty common shapes that that you can use that are done for you. So it's these primitives plus some others that you can get. Okay, so that's on my Gumroad, and again, the best way to get to it is go to my Instagram, click on my link tree, and then go to my Gumroad, or of course you can always search Gumroad and Kermaco. I'm sure it'll come up, and you can get it there as well. Okay, all right. Cyberpunk skull, sure, that sounds good. Send me a picture of it. All right. So here is his backpack, and what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to Dynamesh this thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and Dynamesh it. Oops, like before I do that though, I might need to separate it out because it's still connected to this kind of strap, which I don't want it to be connected to. So here I'm going to split unmasked points and then go to it. Should have put it right underneath. Here we go. And I'm just going to Dynamesh this for now. I don't really care about I'm just going to kind of cut it in some sort of a shape. So I'm going to go ahead and choose clip curve here and just figure out some interesting shape for it. I do have symmetry on, so maybe something like that over here, and then something like that. Maybe make this a little bit taller. That looks good. There we go. So here I'm just kind of figuring out some sort of a rough shape for it. Something like that. All right. Let's go ahead and use the move brush and kind of create some interesting looks to it. Maybe this connects up to this pipe over here. Something like that. All right, so that looks great for kind of a basic start of this thing. So I got my primary forms there for it, and it looks good. Still, I think it's a bit too much this way. So let's there, that's better. Maybe this is kind of where everything is stored. And I think the thing that powers him is maybe a battery pack, and maybe this is the battery pack right here, this kind of thing in the back. And I'll put a handle where you can just kind of, he pulls it off and puts another one in. All right, that's looking good. Oh, how do I use the primitive brush? Good question. So it's basically an insert multi-mesh brush. So if you bring it up, so you see all these primitives here, and I'll just make this bigger so you can see them. Okay, so these usually might show up for you up here, right? So I have it docked to the side, and the way you do that is through preferences, and I think under, of course, I'm not going to remember it. I think it's under interface or custom UI, maybe. No, it's under interface, and somewhere around here is where it's at. IMM viewer, there it is. And yeah, so placement is 2, right? So 2 puts it on the side over here, but you can choose it as 1 and it'll be on top, or 3 or 4, and then you can auto show and hide. You can turn that on and off too. And so anyway, the insert mesh brush has all of these different primitives in it, right? And you choose the one you want. So here I've got the pro version loaded, so it's got all these pill shapes, these shapes right here, and et cetera, et cetera. So here, for example, if I want to put one of these guys on here, I just point to where I want it to go and just draw it out, and there it is, right? So just as simple as that. So I'm going to do it one more time, not as big, and then you basically, it'll mask whatever you put it onto. And here I'm I'm just going to rotate it this way, like that, and it's just going to be kind of this bottom part of this backpack. Right, so right now these two are in the same subtool, right? So you can see here they're both in the same subtool. The backpack itself is masked, and I don't know why this shape kind of is like that. Let's just do this the right way. Let's put it in, and let's go to turn symmetry off, and then let's rotate it this way so it doesn't do that weird thing that it did. And for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and split this out into its own parts. So split unmasked points, or I'll split the masked points, it doesn't matter at this point, right? And so now it's just its own subtool, and I'm just gonna mirror and weld it so it's basically symmetrical, and there it is. So it's just as simple as that. And like I said, there's all these other ones here that are pretty useful for different reasons, so you can use them individually, or you can just get the free one, and that has most of your basic it has most of your basic brushes or primitives that you need. And I will continue to make one version free, and then as I update the other one, it's going to be for a nominal price. All right, so there's that. Let's go back to this and divide it once. Actually, I want to keep it kind of faceted. Delete lower. And then divide it one more time. Go to H-polish and start kind of determining some nice kind of symmetry on here. Yeah, and it's got a lot of really cool things with the primitives as well. They're polygrouped, which is useful, and the cylinders don't have a and the spheres don't have a pole, so that's already done for you as well. And I am working on other brushes. I've mentioned that on this before, but I've got to finish them and I got to package them before I can put them online, which I will do at some point. All right. I haven't determined yet if this thing is going to be kind of solid or if it's going to be a cloth-based thing. I'm leaning more towards solid right now, but that might change. All right, so this is a pretty sharp angle over here, so I'm just going to dim it down. Let's get some H-polish on here. All right. All right, so we do have some people from the US. Somebody's from Texas. Awesome. Right here, I'm just kind of looking to see where the connections are. And what I'm going to do is inverse the mask and create some sort of attachment over here. to these straps. So it's still Dynamesh, and maybe I'll give it a little bit more resolution for the Dynamesh. Well, that's 128. Let's go to 512. I think that's a good amount. Oops. So yeah. Anybody got 2024 yet? 2024 is pretty cool. They added some very nifty stuff in here, which I usually do a little bit of a show and tell on the new version. But I don't know if I have the time or if today is like the best day to do that. Maybe next stream I will. Just because I think I don't have enough people on here to kind of do it. But yeah, it's pretty amazing that it's already out and available, so you guys can, if you're subscribing, you can just go and download it and use it. Right, so now we have the underpinnings of this backpack done. Then we can just kind of continue more of it later on. As needed. Another thing I wanted to do is create some tubes and stuff to go here and around his neck. So I'm going to jump to my reference real quick to see the kinds of cables there are. Okay, so there are different ways of doing cables. Z-spheres are a fun way of doing them, so I'll start out with that. So here I'm just going to go and append a Z-sphere. It's way too big. I'm going to scale it down and move it. It's not symmetrical. Let's make it symmetrical, move it up. And here I'm just turn transparency on, I can see it inside here. Here I'm just kind of getting it in the center, but I can, whenever I generate parts with it, I'll move it to the side. Here I'm just kind of choosing the size for it. And okay, now that that's good, I'm going to turn on ghosts so I can work inside here and go back to draw, and I'm going to draw a second one. And if I hold, if I draw it out and hold, here, let me solid for a minute. So here, if I'm on top and I draw one out, if I hold shift down, it actually makes it exactly the same size, which I do want in this case. And I'm going to move this up further. With Z-spheres, it's better when you have your draw size is 0. So here I'm just going to move this over this way, like that. Actually, I'm just going to have this be the entire length of it. And then the trick is to just put a couple of Z-spheres here in the middle. That way I ensure that they're all the same size. And then I'm going to move this one over to here and move this one over to here in this way, like that. Okay, let me just look at it from the side. It looks fine. And then if I press A, it shows me the adaptive skin for it, which is this. And this is not what I want. So I'm going to go back to the Z-sphere for it here. And then I'm just going to let's make sure the size is good. Seems to be okay. I wonder if I can scale it at this point. Scale the whole thing. No. No. All right. I think this is good. I'll just change the other thing. So for the adaptive size here, or adaptive skin, what I do is if I don't want this to be what it was, which is kind of this dynameshed thing here, I'm going to turn Dynamesh off and press A. So now that gives me, and I can turn on polyframe to see what I'm getting. So now I'm just kind of getting this type of a shape, which is kind of what I want. However, I want these corners to be a little bit tighter. So here I'm just going to go back to the Z-spheres, go to draw and just add some Z-spheres over here. Just kind of the second Z-sphere down. And for good measure, I'll do it over here as well. Now if I press A, so I get kind of more of a what I want here, but it's still not 100% because this needs to be moved a little bit this way. Oh man, what happened there? Somehow I added a small Z-sphere over here, not a problem. Okay, so to remove Z-spheres, you just point to them, hold the Alt button in draw mode and click, and that goes away. So now I should be back to normal. This is kind of what I want, more or less, but I want it to be thinner. So here, I'm just going to say make adaptive skin. When I do that, it basically just creates its own kind of subtool over here, or its own ZTL actually. And so now here I'm just going to smooth this out just a little bit. And the top and bottom, I don't really need them to be curved, so I can just use the clip brush to clip this down and to clip this down as well. So now I have this shape here. There's a little bit of a rotation, but I don't really care at this point. And what I want to do is I want to make this thinner, so I'm just going to go to deformation and do a negative inflate on it. Maybe something like this. Nope, that's not giving me what I want. Maybe just hit it. Nope. If I smooth it, it's going to kind of destroy the initial shape. So I need to figure out a way to make this thinner. Let's go to mask center. And let me see if there's some way to do it in here. So there's an inflate over here, multi-slice, offset, skew, scale. I don't think scale is going to do it. Smooth. Let's see if this inflate works. It didn't because it's got multiple subdivision levels. Oh, that's the other thing too. I don't want too many subdivision levels. So here, let's go down to subdivision level, delete this higher level. Okay. And then let's see if this inflate works. It's kind of creating an interesting look, but I think, what's this one? Smooth. We definitely do want it to be smooth. The symmetry, we don't really care about symmetry at this point. So I think let's try and see if this does it. No. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be what we need. So let's just delete this modifier. And I'm going to try, now that I don't have that resolution, I'm going to try inflating it again, but not maybe so much. Let's go to that. I think this is kind of closer to what I want. I'm going to turn dynamic subdivision on. Nope, it's still not what I want. Okay. So this is kind of more of what I want. I just want it to be thinner. There are different ways of doing this, but I think I'm just going to maybe kind of take this for what it is, or maybe try something else with it. Let's try that. So this is kind of more of a band versus a tube. Something like that. Get a straight edge this way, get a straight edge this way, and there it is. So coming together. So it's kind of more like a ribbon than a tube. And then I'll do the tube the other way. All right, a bunch of chat stuff. Yeah, building your own UI will definitely. Learning ZBrush in and out is bester. I don't know what you mean there, Will. Oh yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I think I think yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff in ZBrush, so I would definitely pace myself and learn as you go. I mean, I don't think I know everything in it, and I've been using it for a long time. All right, so let's say this is just like this kind of a thing. I'm going to copy that and just paste it in here. So there it is. And I'm just going to put this down here somewhere like that. Let's turn this transparency off so we can see it. So maybe this is kind of a piece that goes over in here, like this. It's creating a nice little S shape over here that I like. Just wanted to see enough of it. Mask this part and then extend that part out. There it is, and then let's move it out a bit. There, that's good, that's good. And it's kind of just going nowhere, so let's kind of angle it a bit so it goes kind of at the bottom of this helmet over here. Okay, that looks good. Let's add another one on the other side. Mirror and Weld X. There it is. Oh, just happened. All right, somehow it's not mirroring it. I don't know why. Let's see here. There it is. Okay, and Mirror and Weld X. Oh, that's why it's got multiple subdivision levels. No worries. We can delete the lower one, and now it'll work. Here we go. Now we've got two, one on each side. That's good enough. Let's make some modifications. Turn symmetry on, so we're doing it on both sides. There. Okay, that piece is there. So now for tubes, there's the other way I said to do them. And that is by using the curve tubes brush, and that's by just drawing the curves. So for that, I'm going to hide the helmet here. So let's kind of bring this visible count to 8 up here. And where is the helmet itself? So I'm going to hide the helmet, hide the skull, hide that inside part. And hide the orange part. So we're just kind of left with this over here, and then I'm going to just draw out a curve where I want that tube to be. Of course, it's way too big, so I'm going to make my brush size or draw size smaller, and that's too small. Let's see if size 2 works. Okay, that's good. And now once it's drawn, I can move it around and place it where I want it to go. And it sticks to the surface, so that's good. I'm just going to move it here. So here's one. It's a little bit longer. Like that. Let's bring the rest of it up now to see what we just did. Okay, that's a good one. Let's bring up the rest of the helmet. That's good from this angle, but maybe from this angle bring it up a bit. It was totally useless to add this second part, so I'm just going to go back to before I added it. Here we go. All right, well, it's looking good. Again, transparent. Okay. So this kind of shows up over here, but doesn't show up from the front. That's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to accept that. So just to accept that, you just click on the piece over here. And I'm going to solo it out. So this is masked, as you can see. And if I hit W here and hold Control down, I can just duplicate it. So I'm just going to have another tube, kind of like it. Do this. But this one, I'm going to, over here, push down this way. Right, so it's a different tube, same kind of size, but I'm just kind of changing its orientation a little bit to go over here. Right, let's turn transparency on. Let's see what we've got. Okay, it's kind of looking a little bit more interesting in here. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do split to similar parts here so that it basically will create these two and then the split mask points. So they're all separate and I can manipulate them separately. Okay, and then this one. Right, so this is kind of another way of creating tubes, and I can make these tubes a little bit more interesting to look at. Here I'm just going to bring up this, and just going to use the relax deformer just to relax these polygons a bit. Okay, something like that. And then I'm going to use the ZModeler brush. And QMesh, polyloop. And just do some kind of rings this way. Actually, if I use the mouse, it'll just be the same size, so let's do it that way. It's kind of better to control it. Let's say something like this. I'm going to do one here, do another one here. Okay, and then these are good to do on the borders. So it kind of looks like it's going into something. Okay, so there's that. And then maybe one more over here. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's put one over here. All right, that looks good. All Right, let's let that save. Oh man, bunch of questions. Right. Normal subdivision and dynamic subdivision? Yeah, sure. I can tell you the difference. A sub is more poly structured. What the hell? Okay. I don't know. Okay. Yes, I did design it. Oh well, it is my design. And it is based off of some images that I had, but yeah, it is definitely my design. Can't believe you saw how much time you spend to make a model like this. Hoko, maybe you can tell me why you would need to know that. Everybody usually asks about that, like how long does it take? How come you're asking? Okay, so let me talk about dividing and subdividing. So let me just go and bring up another subtool here. Let's go ahead and pick this one right here. Okay, so this was kind of initial sketch that I was doing, right? So let's say, actually this might not be a good example. Let's just go to the star. Okay, so here's a star, and you can see that this is kind of its shape. And if I go to subdivide it, so here I'll just use the menus so you guys are kind of in the same page with me. So here under menus and geometry, there is the divide, and then you can divide smooth or not smooth, okay? So if I click divide here, notice now with smooth on, it's divided it into this type of star, right? So there, if I bring up polyframe, you can see that this is the subdivisions. And then if I divide it again, then it makes it into this type of thing. So it's subdividing every polygon into 4 polygons, right? Okay, so, but if I want that original shape, if I want the original star shape that I had, right, like this, right? But I did want to see what it would look like subdivided. So I don't want to divide it. I just want to see what it would look like if I had subdivided it. So I go to dynamic subdiv and turn dynamic on. So if I turn dynamic on, the default is that it subdivides it and smooths it twice. So now I see what this looks like, right? But if I turn dynamic off, I go back to what I have. So dynamic is kind of a way to preview what will happen when you subdivide it. And it's a way to kind of, you know, you have less geometry on your screen when you're working. Because right now, notice here that it says active points are 14, even though I subdivided. But if I subdivide it twice, so here I'm subdividing it twice, you see it's 290 points. So 290 points is a lot more points to move around than it is to move 49 points. So I'm going to Control Z it twice, turn dynamic on, and this is what I got. And then dynamic has some other things too, like it's got the QGrid function, and then the QGrid function kind of gives you an in-between. So here I'm just kind of going in between the kind of the star shape and this shape. And coverage will give you the coverage. So here you can see I'm getting a completely different look by choosing, let's say, QGrid 1, 2, and 3, and then choosing the coverage so that it's more like the star or more like the shape that it came to. This is kind of cool over here, but I don't know what's happening in this area. So what I'm going to do here is I might have manipulated the star a bit, so I'm just going to make sure that it is symmetrical. And let's do this one more time with QGrid. So I'm going to turn QGrid to 8. Let's turn it to like 4. And let's kind of move the coverage. Yeah, I think the problem I'm having is with this star in the middle. Right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to have dynamic, no QGrid. I'm just going to have this shape, and I'm going to apply it. So when I click apply, notice now it jumps to 290. So that's basically like subdividing it twice. So now that I have this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zero mesh it. And I am going to make sure I've got symmetry on both in X and in Y. And then just go ahead and zero mesh it. So I kind of get a shape like this. All right, so then if I do dynamic subdiv on this, so it kind of gives me a smoother model, right? And then I can you know, I can go ahead and sculpt on this, and I don't really have to deal with that pole anymore because I zero meshed it, so that's all gone. And then and even here I can go ahead and kind of choose a coverage between kind of the softer model and, let me turn this off, softer model and kind of the more of the, faceted one, right? I can do this with a box too. Maybe let's try that. Maybe if it didn't make sense to some of you, it will make sense now. So here's a cube, right? And if I press D to divide it, or dynamically subdivide it, so so this is 26 points now. Let's turn on polyframe, right? So, but if I turn dynamic off and I subdivide it, right, it turns into kind of this shape, and then one more time it turns into this shape. So suppose I don't want that. What I want to do is turn dynamic on. Okay, so now I've got dynamic on, and it's I'm going to turn cube grid and coverage off. So if I turn dynamic on, it basically looks like it would if I subdivided it, but I'm going to turn on cube grid to maybe about 3 and then change the coverage. And notice now I'm getting these nice kind of corners over here, and I can have that be a chamfer instead of a bevel, right? And if I turn polyframe off, you'll see I'm getting kind of these nice corners, and I can kind of choose this coverage to get a nice kind of smooth corner around here. And if I want to add a flat subdivision level, I can as well. So this is basically subdividing it twice with smooth on and once without. And again, I can modify this cube grid to kind of get as much of a shape that I want. So I can get something like this or something closer to that. And again, all of this is still 26 points. So this is all, like if I turn this off, it's just this cube that I had. But just by turning dynamic on, I get kind of these effects. And with perspective, this will look better. And let's say I want a box that looks like this. And let me actually do some other stuff in here. Let's say I insert an edge loop here. And maybe an edge loop this way, and an edge loop this way. And then I just Q-mesh this single polygon down. So now notice that I'm getting that same type of nice beveling happening everywhere, right? And again, this is very 90 points, so it's still very low res. And let's say I want another edge. Turn this on here, and let's say I want to do this over here. So now I've got that. And now I'm kind of starting to create something that's looking like a Minecraft character or something like that, right? And same thing with when I extrude. And notice that all of this kind of fine beveling is being added to the entire thing. So yeah, dynamic subdivision is a very useful capability to have in ZBrush. Right? So here I'm basically making some sort of a droid head. Right, I'm just kind of using ZModeler here. Okay, but again, if I turn dynamic off, this is kind of a very polygonal, very harsh looking model. Turn dynamic on, and once I like it, let's say if I want to keep this, I can just say apply, and now ZBrush will automatically kind of generate the geometry to support that kind of a look. So now this is kind of the final thing. But I don't really have to do that. I can just keep it on dynamic until such a point where I think, okay, this looks okay. And then once I get what I want, then I basically tell ZBrush to finalize it. So here I'm just kind of doing some minor edits to it. I'm trying to see if this is something I can use later, but it's kind of, I think I've kind of done too much to it. But yeah, I mean, this could be kind of like a robot head, or it could be a buckle of some sort. Maybe we can use this as a buckle in what we're working on. So I'm just going to do this and copy it. And let's see if we can find a use for it in our model. All right, so here under subtool, copy, and let's go back to our model here. And let's see, where could that go? Maybe over here. Let's pick that and paste. Turn symmetry off on it. Center the pivot. And maybe this could go somewhere over here like that. I can make an insert mesh brush with it too. I know you guys are saying stuff in the chat. Just give me a minute to put this where it's supposed to go, and then I'll get back to you. Yeah, this kind of worked out. Happy accident. All right, and let's see the angle this way. That's good. And let's kind of make that mirror and weld that to the other side. There we go. We just made these two buckles. They look totally cool. Yep. All right. Let's see what the chat's saying. Get better. I'm using it about a week. Well, you know, yeah, it takes time. You know, I think it's always good at a time for you to do something. I think that's good, but also sometimes, you know, things take longer. So usually, you know, I do maybe about 8 to 10 streams per. I don't know why this is not working. Let's try it this way. Local symmetry, dynamic, not dynamic. All right, I'm just gonna have to mirror and weld it. All right, what's going on here? Mirror and weld X. Oh, I don't want it to be local. Here we go. All right, so that's kind of looking good, and then we'll just make it. Just make this one thicker. Down. Okay, mirror. And let's turn this off. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Z-Modeler is great. It's like Maya Smooth number 3. Okay, well, Raz, that's a good way to put it. Exactly. It's like doing dynamic subdivision or doing Catmull Clark subdivision, but without applying it. That's a good way to think about it. What's exact? I don't know what you mean by that, Will. How can you get tonight's stream? You can go to the YouTube channel. So after I'm done with these, usually they're recorded, so you can watch it after the fact. It's on there indefinitely. Let's see. Leornak, I'll let you know in a minute. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like if you know Maya really well, you kind of want to go back to it, but you have to kind of apply yourself to, you know, you kind of have to give yourself a project and say, I'm not going to go to Maya, I'm going to try and do this all in ZBrush. Getting tonight's stream, let's talk about that. So here, if you go to, bring up the browser window that I had. Here we go. So if you go to YouTube and you do a search for Pixelogic or ZBrush, this is the channel. It's basically youtube.com/@pixelogiczbrush. And if you click on live over here, you will see all of the videos. So here's Patrick 4D's food stuff that he does. Shane, I guess, did a Mr. Potato Head, it looks like. All right, so Layla does characters. Eric is doing this Hornet. There's some stylistic stuff. There's all sorts of stuff. But if you scroll down, so here's my last one that I did, right? So after this stream is done, right, after it's finished, after 9 p.m., it will be placed over here, right? So it'll be here, and this one will kind of shift over, and all the streams, all of them are here. You can just go back in time and watch every single one of them. And of course, in here, you can click on search and look for my name, and you can find all my streams. I've done tons of them now. So that's how you can get it after the fact. Yeah. Okay. So when you say you're new to ZBrush, yeah. So when you're new to ZBrush, it's really intimidating, right? Just like anything else, new stuff is kind of intimidating. So what you got to do is you've got to kind of create a project for yourself and do it. I would highly recommend you use Z Classroom. Z Classroom is super, super useful. And just Google Z Classroom, and that's Maxon's own channel for stuff. And then they have step-by-step instructions for you to learn ZBrush. So, but you know, the most important thing I would say is just give it time. Don't be frustrated if you're not like doing what I'm doing in a week or two. It takes a while. Getting to ZBrush lately, and I'm just going. Data is being mined. I don't think any data is being mined. I don't think. I think when you're running ZBrush, you're running it on your computer. You're not running it on their on their stuff, right? So it's not like it's not like it's cloud computing or anything like that. I think you're still using it on your computer. So I don't think any data is being mined. And a good way to find that out is just look at their privacy information. So yeah. And also, like, yeah, I don't know, like, what information would they mine? I don't know. But yeah, if you're concerned, look at their privacy information. And also, I think the only thing that happens when you run ZBrush in subscription mode is you have to have the Maxon app on every once in a while, because it just needs to make sure that you have a legitimate version. But other than that, I don't think it's mining any information. I just added some more stuff to that, and notice here that I can press D for dynamic subdiv and get a kind of a really cool effect there for that cable, and that's looking good. And then for this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So let's take a look at it. Okay, there it is, and I'm just going to again hit it with just a little bit of a relax, just to get those polygons to not be so stiff. And then for this one, I'm just going to do QMesh, but go inwards. Right, so QMesh polyloop, and for this I'm just going to go inwards like this, and then just do it actually, I'm going to do something else here. I'm going to go inwards, but I'm going to use the Control Shift key to kind of get this type of effect. Like that. I'm just going to add an edge loop here, an edge loop here, and an edge loop here. Now, if I go to Dynamic Subdiv, I get something like this, which is kind of cool. And then maybe go outwards this way. And I'm going to repeat that over here. Something like this. There we go. So that's just basically adding some more kind of visual interest down here and in that piece. And then maybe do something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Totally not visible, so might as well do one that goes this way. And let's smooth that down. take a look at this over here. And again, just like some minor adjustments. Okay, I probably could put some more stuff in here. Put some wires down in the back. So we'll do that in a minute here, but I have some questions. Struggling with hard surface. Well, I mean, with hard surface, hard surface is just like anything else. There's nothing that different about hard surface. You know, you just have to understand kind of the how things are made, and then just do that. So here I've got this kind of really low res piece. I'm going to go ahead and turn dynamic on for it, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, so. All right, so notice here that this doesn't look hard surfacey anymore because it kind of looks a little bit more organic considering where we started. So here I'm just going to go do the thing that I did earlier, which is go ahead and add a Q grid to it. And that will make it a little bit more, maybe, I don't know. Let's see, let's smooth subdivide it 3 times and add a little bit of a Q grid, and then let's see if I move the coverage back and forth, what kind of result I will get. Okay, I'm getting something a little bit more hard surfacey here, but not exactly what I want. But I am getting something that I do think is interesting, and I'm going to explore that. Kind of like how this kind of peak is going across. So, so here's a perfect example, Will, of me making something that looks a little bit blobby and organic into something that's going to be hard surface very soon. Right, so I'm just kind of getting things to go where I want it to go, like that. And then I'm just going to establish the plane. So I'm going to use the H polish brush for that. So let's bring that up. There, H polish. And you notice that H polish is one of the ones I use all the time. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply this. So it does apply that geometry. So I do have the geometry. And now I'm just kind of making this top part kind of more like a hard surface part. And then I'm going to do the same over here like this. Right, so now it's kind of more of a hard surface looking piece. Just trying to get that angle over here to work. Again, this is something that is so much better to do, what I'm doing right now, on a pen tablet than it is doing on a regular tablet. Like, this is definitely one of the benefits. Right, so I have to tie this one together, so I'm just going to use Damien Standard for that and just kind of do one of these guys. And now let's go to H polish again. All right, so let's see what this is looking like. So yeah, it is looking a lot more kind of hard surfacey. I need to do some adjustments over here. There, so now, you know, I mean, still it's kind of an organic piece, but I am applying some brushes here to create some planes that would make it hard surface. Okay. Still not buying this little area over here. And also another thing you can do for hard surface is use something that has a specular. So I'm using basic material 2 right now that has a little bit more of a specular glint, which is better at kind of highlighting corners and whatnot. So I know I'm getting the kind of, once I assign like a metallic material to it, I am getting what I want. Oops. And now I'm working on the piece underneath it to kind of make it look a bit more hard surfacey. Right, so it's just a matter of adding the details, and now I can kind of get some hard surface looking effects over here, right? So with Maya, when you're doing hard surface, you're basically doing more of a additive kind of a workflow. With ZBrush, you can do additive and subtractive. So you basically are using sculpting capabilities as well as polygon modeling capabilities. So you have a lot more flexibility in what you're doing. I don't know what is going on with this one. There's something that's showing up. Is it this? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was trying to beat back that one little thing that's showing up here, but I thought it was part of this, but it's actually part of this tube underneath. So just fix that. That tube underneath is really not showing at all, so I'll probably have to move it somewhere where it is more visible. Let's see. Maybe move this somewhere in the back. No. The harder you press on the tablet, it gives you a harder surface. That's so funny. No, that's not the case. Yeah. Yeah, don't try to put your styles through the tablet. That's kind of funny. Yeah, no, you should, you should definitely not be pressing too hard on your tablet. Maybe, maybe the person you were talking to misunderstood about, like, maybe, she didn't know what hard surface meant, or maybe thought, like, how do you make the, the pressure kind of, or because tactile is important. I mean, for my iPad, I have this thing that I put on it so that it's more like I'm drawing on paper. So maybe that's kind of what that person was saying. But yeah, that's funny. Yeah, tablets cost a lot of money. You definitely want to extend their life, not shorten it by pressing harder or doing anything like that. All right, so I'm kind of trying to see where this is fitting. Well, that looks good. Yeah, that's what we want. Just make it thinner. All right. All right, what is this piece? All right, so this piece I kind of wanted to maybe it's something that kind of holds this thing together. All right, so I'm going to need another piece. I'm going to get it off of here. Oh. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so what I want to do now is just kind of get a couple of these rings out of here. So this is kind of an interesting, this is dynamic as well, notice. And what I want to do is I want a Q mesh poly loop. It is on. Okay, so as I'm pulling this out, if I hold the control key, I just basically make this kind of a thing, and I'm going to get it some thickness. So I'm just basically creating a ring here that is going to kind of be something that's holding this together. So I'm just going to go out this way, and then I'm going to split this to parts. Right, tells me it's an undoable operation, which is fine. And then where is it? It's right here. So with this one, I'm just going to add some thickness to it, but from the inside. So I'm going to click double on here, and I'm going to add some thickness from the inside. Now, when I do this, if I turn double off, you'll see kind of it looks like it's inside out, and that's because the normals are flipped. So if you get into a situation like this, you can go into the display properties and flip it around, and now it looks right. So here, I just basically created this ring that's going to be part of this thing over here that holds this thing in the back together. So let's just kind of unmask center. There it is. And so here I want the gizmo to be oriented to this. So I'm just going to click here and here just to get the orientation first. And then just center it. Okay, so now it has the orientation and it has the centering. And then just move this up to over here. Just a little bit bigger, a little bit wider like that. Okay, so now this thing has creases on it, which, you know, is kind of cool, but I don't really need the creases, so I'm going to uncrease them. And I think I have an uncrease all here. Do I? Or is it here? Uncrease all, right? So now this is kind of more of a round shape, but again, it's still using dynamic subdiv. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what happens if I apply a Q grid to it. Let's try some coverages. See if this looks interesting enough. Maybe wider. No, I'm not getting it. And also, I think I'm just going to leave the creases and then use something else, which is bevel the crease. So here under crease, there's a bevel option, and maybe get this kind of resolution for it. And yeah, I think this is kind of more along the lines of what I want. That's good. Let's make another one here at the bottom. All right, there we go. Okay, so those are the things that will kind of hold this in place. And then I need a way to make this thing right here work with them. So let's try doing this. And I don't know if this thing has dynamic subdivision on it. Oh, one of the things you want to do, I had it on the whole time, but after you change your configuration, after you do your custom UI, you turn enable customize off. That's why I was getting that blue kind of bar, separator bar. Okay, so here we go, and then again, this is dynamic subdiv, so it's very few polygons, and I just need this to kind of be the piece that connects to these things. And I might have to do some sort of interesting connector. If this doesn't work. Turn polyframe off. Okay, so again, I'm trying to kind of, organically get the thing where I want it to be. And I'm just going to switch to H polish and make it more into a hard surface. At this point, I think I can apply the dynamic subdivision. And for good measure, I'm just going to zero mesh this thing. Give it one subdivision level. Right, so you notice how that started out kind of being very organic looking, and now I'm just basically making it more into something that's hard surface. Right. A lot of hard surface also, you have to know how things are manufactured. But nowadays with 3D printing and kind of all the different ways that you can manufacture things, it's no longer like it used to be. I mean, for mass production, yes. But if you want to custom make stuff, you can pretty much make it anywhere you want. One of the things I'm working on is making a well for resting the pen in. Like, so when I'm working and I'm on the display, instead of kind of looking for my thing on the desk to put the well in, I'm going to create one that I can just attach to the tablet. And so that's kind of a project I'm working on. And then once I'm done with it, I can just put out an STL and print it out, and then actually try it out and see if it works. And if it does work and I like it and I want to mass manufacture it, I can do that. But I most probably will just post the STL online for anybody who wants to do it to be able to. All right, so now I'm kind of doing the same thing with this piece, trying to make it a little bit more hard surfacey. Something like that. I use a little bit of smooth, a little bit of H polish. Space mouse, and it's necessary, but it makes it moving camera nice and smooth. Yeah, I love the space mouse. I have one, and for navigation, I mean, I've kind of, I'm used to just using the Alt keys and moving things around. But for when I want to compose for composition and moving the camera, the space mouse is unbelievably good for that. Like, it's just worth getting just for that reason for me. But yeah, I mean, if you're having issues navigating, a space mouse definitely helps too. I teach every once in a while, and I know that certain kids that are challenged with navigating usually start out using a space mouse, and that makes it a lot more convenient for them to learn how to navigate early on. But again, if you don't, if you don't have that kind of muscle memory built in already, then you can. So what's this piece right here? Oh, it's that one. Okay. There. All right, the neck part is coming together nicely. I think I need some things going, tubes and stuff going this way as well. So I will work on those next. Let's see, how are we doing on time? 8:44, perfect. So yeah, you can use either, like I said, you can use the Alt keys and Control keys or whatever. ZBrush has 3 ways of navigating in it, and if you want to use the space mouse, it's kind of convenient as well. So yeah, the good news is you've got a lot of options. I kind of like the way that that's looking. All right, so I need to put some stuff over here. Let's see. Wonder if I can use one of the tubes I made earlier, but if not, let me go back to my Z-sphere here and see if I can repurpose it. Did I hide it? Or is it still here somewhere? Z-sphere, there you are. All right, get back to there it is. All right, now I'm going to delete some of these spheres here. I don't need them. And let's see if I can put this whole thing somewhere in the back. I'm going to turn transparency on here. And oh, didn't want to do that. Let's move this one over to here. Be nice if I had something parallel with this piece, and maybe this goes into there, and it's kind of nice to be able to work kind of through your object with Z-spheres and see kind of what you're doing, and then A again to get this, maybe not that much. So I'm just using W to move these into place. Again, I just want to make sure that I kind of get the same type of parallel action with this piece right here. And oops. All right, let's turn transparency off, see what that looks like. That looks good. All right, let's make that. So again, go down to adaptive skin here and make adaptive skin. That will make its own subtool. I think it's this one, and we'll copy it and paste it over here. Hide the Z-sphere one, okay, and then just mirror and weld this on the other side. Oh, again, I forget that this creates a, let's just go bring it down to 1. Let's do 2, that's fine. Delete lower, and then mirror and weld it. not locally. All right, and there we go. So I've got that. And then let's see if I can use my trick from earlier. Let's turn symmetry on for this. And let's use Control to just create a copy of it. That looks good, more or less. Kind of like what's going on here. Let's let it autosave. 4:44 a.m. here. Well, that's great. Good morning. I prefer to stay in ZBrush before I use my Quadra. Yeah, I prefer to stay in ZBrush too. And Quadra is really nice. It is for retopology. However, you can now with some of the tools in ZBrush, you might get away with just using ZBrush for retopology as well. But I kind of like what's going on with this part. I think that's great, but I don't like what's going on with this other part. So I'm going to do, oops. I'm going to put the gizmo over here and rotate out from there. Let's see if I can get something compelling. That's good. Move it out. All right, so that's good. Now again, going just right back to organic and moving this over. So the tubes are not touching each other. All right, I think it's kind of coming together. Right, so all right. Rathon, that's a very, very good question. For me, I'm always thinking of functionality. I'm always thinking about it. So, I mean, I like the look of things, but I'm always thinking of like, how does this function? So yeah, functionality is very kind of center to what I'm doing all the time. Sometimes to a fault with me. Yeah, because I always think about, okay, how does this work? Does it work? What do these things do? And what, so the shape is kind of defined by what it does. So here I'm putting these tubes in and everything, but I'm kind of thinking, okay, these are aspects of, keeping this kind of skull, keeping it from kind of deteriorating, right? And then also I'm thinking of, maybe if it goes into like different environments or whatever, that, this helmet helps it kind of stay in a certain climate state. And maybe, somehow it works with the DNA in the skull. So, I'm kind of thinking of those kinds of things with the helmet. I'm also thinking of like what this wire is for, which basically would kind of, create some sort of a either heating or cooling to kind of keep this area the way it needs to be. And then I've got the border for the mask. This area over here is probably something that's going to hold the mask in place, etc. Right? So all these things are basically clasps and whatnot to, kind of detach and reattach these things. Let me actually pick this color and fill that object with that color. So yeah, I'm always thinking about functionality. All right, I think we're kind of 5 minutes to 9. Let me see if yeah, like the Predator's mask. Yeah, that's a good kind of thought. Yeah, so I'm kind of getting down to the wire here. So if you guys have some last minute questions, now is a good time to ask. And if not, then we will end here shortly. It's amazing how much time flies when I'm doing these things. But chances are I'm not going to be working on this offline. So chances are really good that I'm only going to be working on this model on the stream. So you guys will see all of the different things. It's getting pretty close to you know, having all the modeling done. Today I just wanted to make sure I got this backpack done. That's done. And then I have to figure out a way to attach this kind of these protectors here in the back. So I'll have to figure that out. Got to do a better job with these boots. I hate them. Maybe articulate the fingers using the anchor capabilities. So next stream that I do in a couple of weeks, in a couple of Fridays, will be mostly focusing on maybe showing some of the new capabilities of ZBrush 2024. I wanted to do it today, but I don't think I was going to get enough of an audience. So that's one that maybe people will ask more questions, so I'll kind of save it for next time. I'll show you guys the new anchor brushes, which are really cool, and some of the other cool new stuff that they've added. Hard surface stuff with cutting. So when you cut something, you can keep the part that you're cutting. That's kind of a cool, you know, you can do some really cool hard surface effects with that. What else did they add? They added a bunch of stuff. The noise, the new Maxon noises, they're really cool. That was kind of one of my favorite features of the new version. So they keep on adding some great stuff. You know, people were kind of saying that the Maxon purchase was going to, you know, make it like some other programs that were purchased by big companies. But I think these guys are just rocking and rolling with new cool capabilities. So I'm pretty happy with the new features. Again, stuff I could not live without. And probably that will be part of my workflow moving forward. All right, let's see. How am I finalizing this? I'm not going to retopo or bake this. This is just going to be in ZBrush. So basically, I'm going to finish modeling this thing. And then once I'm done modeling it, I'm going to pose it. I'm going to use a character creator to pose it. And then once it's posed, I'm just going to find a composition for it and render it in ZBrush. It's just a concept sculpt. And if somebody wants to take this and make a game out of it or whatever, they can deal with the retopo and the baking and all that good stuff. I'm more of a designer. I'm not an FX person, although I can do all that. Just, you know, disclaimer, I can do all the retopoing and baking and all that stuff. I just prefer not to do it just because I think there are people that will do it a lot faster than I would. And also kind of my core ability is the design aspect of what I'm doing. So I'd rather just stick to that and then leave the effects work to somebody else if I can. But I've been in scenarios where they've hired me to do that as well. And, you know, I'm more than happy to do it. I don't think it's the best use of my time, but it is definitely something that is in my wheelhouse. I have to understand how to do all those things to do what I do. So, yeah. All right. What other question? Yeah, I mean, you know, if I have done one, I've done a project, and this is a good time to bring that up. So I have done a Gnomon workshop where I actually do all the stuff that you were talking about, like have all the low res versions and retopoed versions of everything. And that is over here. It's a Gnomon workshop, and it's called Designing a Piloted Combat Mech. And let me rewind this. Whoa. Okay. And it's basically doing, you know, creating this mech, and I start out with doing the concept work in VR. And so this is using I don't know what it was called, but now it's 3D Modeler from Adobe. So I designed it in VR, and then I basically kind of create a bash of it in ZBrush. I do the retopo in Maya as well as in ZBrush, and then I bring it into Substance Painter and assign materials to it, UV stuff, and then just basically get all sorts of patterns and textures on it, and then basically render it in Keyshot and do some post-processing in Photoshop, etc. So this is kind of the whole process I do. So if you guys want to learn how to do that stuff, you can. And also you can see that I can do it. And yeah, so but for this one, I don't think I'm gonna do all that. One, I don't have the time for it, and then B, you know, it's just kind of a concept piece. You wish ZModeler was more like Maya. I wish Maya was more like ZModeler. So I think we agree to disagree on that one. Will, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, rigged and weighted and all that stuff. Again, not my. It's not in my kind of. I mean, you'll see when I bring it into Character Designer, Character Creator by Reillusion, which is a really nice, has some really nice capabilities. You'll see that I'll be able to do quite a bit of stuff without having to, you know, rig it and whatever. I can animate it. I can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. I might need to create some lower resolution versions of the inside part. So this inside part, I probably will, you know, create lower res versions of it. But you'll see kind of what I take into there, pose it, and then all these other hard surface bits will snap to it. So we'll be doing that at some point. But right now, I kind of like the silhouette this guy has, both from the front and the side. I think we are at a good spot. So let's go ahead and do a quick render to see what we get. And yeah, it's looking good. I think I'm kind of digging the way it's coming along nicely. And I think this would be a good time to stop it. So anyway, I just want to thank all of you that were on live and were in the chat with me for spending the time. I know you guys can watch this after the fact, and which is great. And you might want to watch it again if you missed something or want to see something done again. And but I do appreciate it when you're on live. And of course, the benefit for you is that you can ask questions while you're there. So for whatever time of day it is, good day, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time of day it is. And hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. And